Did you know that this February 12th was the 200th birthday of Charles Darwin? A lot of you probably recognize that name. He was the man who popularized the theory of evolution and explained the theory in his book, The Origin of Species. His ideas are among the most popular in circulation today, and he's definitely one of the most influential men to have lived in the last 200 years. However, there's probably a lot about Darwin and his theory that you don't know. For example, his book was not originally called The Origin of Species. It was actually called On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Preservation of favored races, huh? You know, it may be just me, but that title alone sounds a little bit racist. No wonder it was changed. Now let's move on to a quote by Darwin himself. He said that if it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory would absolutely break down. Well, let's take a look at a simple single-celled organism. This one cell has to be able to perform 11 main life functions to survive. The human body is full of trillions of cells that work together to perform these same tasks. This proves that there is nothing simple about life. Even though Darwin was wrong about simple organisms, his theory is still widely accepted and taught as fact. If you would have read the February 12th publication of the Post and Courier, you would have found an article that said this: "Evolution is a fact, and its mechanism is natural selection. Creatures with variations especially suited to their environmental situation have more descendants than do less well-adapted creatures. This is not Darwinian-style evolution, just adaptations producing the same kinds. Kinds bringing forth after their kind is what the Bible tells us will occur, and this is caused by gene depletion." But let's explain natural selection. It's a mechanism that prevents a gene pool from deteriorating to the point that the species goes extinct. For example, a two-headed frog is born to a clan of one-headed frogs. It won't be able to live as long because it won't be able to function as well. Therefore, it'll die off, and the one-headed frogs will live. Here's another example. If you have a room full of 1,000 cockroaches and you spray them all with insecticide, and only 2 live, it's not because they rapidly evolved an immune system to insecticide. It's because they already had the genes necessary to fight off the insecticide. But there is no macroevolution here. Nothing has been added to the gene pool. It's called gene depletion, and what it means is this: when a mutation occurs, there's a loss of data in the genetic code. Nothing beneficial is added to the gene pool. This alone proves Darwin's theory wrong. Okay, so we've covered natural selection. But what about all the evidence that proves we evolved from apes? I mean, isn't our makeup just like that of a chimpanzee? Well, it's true that our biochemistry is over 90% the same as a chimpanzee, but it's also over 90% the same as a mouse, and about 50% the same as a banana. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a really hard time believing I evolved from a mouse or a banana. And for us to have evolved from apes, our DNA would have had to produce 231 million beneficial mutations. And since we know that mutations can add no beneficial data to a gene pool, this is impossible. So what about all these missing links they've found that prove evolution? Well, let's go over a few of them. The lobe-finned fish, or coelacanth, was said to be the missing link between reptiles and amphibians. It was said to have gone extinct millions of years ago, but it was found alive in the 1900s and hadn't evolved at all. Nebraska man was said to be an ancient ape man, but the only fossil evidence found for a Nebraska man was a piece of a broken tooth. From that broken tooth, evolutionists depicted a Nebraska man in paintings with his wife and even the tools they would have used. It was later found that that tooth came from a pig. Nebraska man is not a missing link. Evolutionist Louis Leakey found an ape's crushed jawbone with all ape's teeth. He reconstructed it, and it came out looking like a human jawbone with ape's teeth. This became Ramapithecus. Ramapithecus was proved in the 1970s to actually just be an orangutan, but is resurfaced in some textbooks today under a new name, Civipithecus. However, it is just an orangutan, not a missing link, as was proved several decades ago. The famous Lucy was said to have been a missing link because it walked upright and had an angled femur like humans do. What you're not told is that most tree-dwelling apes have angled femurs, and they're not evolving into humans. Is this really proof for evolution? I don't think so. In fact, the punctuated equilibrium theory is an evolutionary theory explaining why there is no evidence. It says evolution happened in spurts over millions of years, leaving no evidence. Believers in this fully realize there's no evidence. But I thought science was supposed to be knowledge derived from evidence. So clearly, evolution is not science. You see, we creationists are not defying science, we're defending it. Evolution is just another way to get people to turn from the truth. If you tell someone that a baby in the womb is just an animal going through its evolution into a human, it becomes easy to abort or murder that child. Because, after all, it's just a fish, right? Nobel Prize winning physicist Steve Weinberg said, "Anything we scientists can do to weaken the hold of religion should be done." Clearly, he's not interested in science. He wants to erase God from society. And the reason for doing so is this. If man evolved, that puts death and suffering before the fall of man, or eliminates the fall of man completely. And if man did not fall into sin, there'd be no reason for him to be saved from it either. So, if there's no need for us to be saved from sin, then there'd be no reason for God to come out of heaven, become a man, suffer and die, then rise again to save us with his holy blood. Satan will do whatever he can to get you to turn from God. That means creating false theories that defy both science and the Bible. That's what he'll do. Nevertheless, God is still there, despite the attacks. There's evidence of his greatness throughout all his creation, and he offers us a choice. To ask forgiveness and live our lives according to his word, or to spend eternity in a place of torment and separation from his love. What will you choose? Happy birthday, Darwin.